Come closer for a moment and let us have a conversation that might just save you the next 10 years of your life. I want to speak directly to the part of you that is exhausted. I am talking about the spiritual exhaustion that comes from pushing and forcing and affirming through clenched teeth and wondering why absolutely nothing seems to move no matter how positive you try to be. You are here because you have likely reached a breaking point where your logic no longer makes sense. You look at your life and you see a contradiction that hurts the heart. You have done the work. You have read the books. You have spoken the right words. You have visualized with great effort until your mind was tired, and yet life just stares back at you like a cat being told to fetch. Nothing happens, or even worse, the exact opposite happens. You affirm wealth and an unexpected bill arrives. You affirm love and your partner becomes distant. You affirm peace and chaos erupts at work. And you sit there in the wreckage of your positive thinking, and you ask the question that haunts every seeker at some point. You ask, why isn't this working when I am trying so hard? Let me tell you something gently, but with absolute, unshakable certainty. It is not that your words have no power, and it is not that the universe is deaf to your requests. The diagnosis is far simpler, and yet far more difficult for the human ego to accept. The diagnosis is that your hard work is not faith. Your hard work is panic in disguise. You are suffering from a spiritual condition known as emotional pressure. And here is the law that no one told you. Emotional pressure cancels commands. It does not matter how beautiful your vision board is, and it does not matter how eloquent your prayers are. If there is a frequency of strain underneath them, you are neutralizing your own power. Think of it like writing a beautiful check for $1 million. You sign it with a flourish, you date it, it is a valid instrument of wealth. But then in a fit of anxiety, you tear it into tiny pieces before you hand it to the teller. Can the bank cash that check? No. The check was perfect, but your delivery of it destroyed it. This is exactly what you are doing with your desires. You are writing the check with your affirmations, and then you are tearing it up with your anxiety. We live in a culture that worships the grind. We are taught from kindergarten that if you want something, you must go out and fight for it. You must wrestle it to the ground. You must conquer it. And while that physics works for moving a sofa across a living room, it does not work for moving energy in the quantum field. When you apply that same aggressive conquering energy to manifestation, you create a backfire effect. Have you ever noticed that the very thing you want most seems to slip further away the harder you press for it? This is not a coincidence. This is a mechanism. When you press, you are sending a vibration into the ether that says, I do not have this. You cannot want what you already have. Therefore, the intensity of your wanting is the proof of your lack. The universe is a mirror. It does not judge what you want. It simply reflects what you are. If you are the energy of trying to get, the universe will faithfully reflect back to you more opportunities to try to get but never the experience of having. You end up running on a hamster wheel of desire where the carrot is always 3 inches in front of your nose. You run faster. You affirm louder. You visualize harder. But the carrot moves with you because the carrot is held by your own fear. Let us look at this idea of strain. Most people live their entire lives applying pressure and calling it faith. They call it willpower. They call it discipline. They think that if they worry about their problem enough, they will somehow solve it. They think that if they micromanage the universe, they will ensure the outcome. And then they wonder why they are exhausted. They wonder why manifesting feels like hard labor. They wonder why peace seems like a luxury item reserved for monks and retired cats. If you have ever felt frustrated because you are doing the inner work but still feel stuck, you are in this trap. If you have ever tried to command something into being while secretly panicking inside, you are in this trap. If you have ever whispered, please work, please work, please work, right after declaring something boldly, then congratulations, you are officially human. But you are also canceling your own order. The real challenge is not that you lack desire, it is not that you lack belief, and it is certainly not that you lack effort. You have plenty of effort. The challenge is that emotional pressure is a form of resistance wearing a very convincing costume. Pressure sounds like determination to the untrained ear, but it feels like strain to the spirit. And strain is never the language of power. Strain is the language of weakness. Think about a king or a queen. When a queen issues a command, does she strain? Does she break a sweat? Does she clench her fists and scream at her servants, hoping they listen? No. She speaks quietly. She speaks once. She assumes obedience. Her power comes from her position, not from her volume. Now contrast that with a beggar. A beggar pleads, a beggar explains, a beggar bargains, a beggar strains. When you approach the universe with emotional pressure, you are vibrating like the beggar, not the queen. You are telling life that you are not sure if you deserve this. You are telling life that you are afraid it won't happen, and life, being very obedient, agrees with you immediately. It says you are right. You are afraid. Here is more fear. Think of this physically. Have you ever tried to push a door that clearly says pull? You can push with passion. You can push with focus. You can push with sweat dripping down your face. You can gather all your friends to help you push. You can write a book about the nobility of pushing. But the door will not budge, not because you are weak and not because the door is locked, but because you are applying force in the wrong direction. Emotional pressure is exactly that. It is pushing where allowing is required. The door to spiritual power opens inward. It opens toward you, but you are leaning forward. You are grasping. You are chasing. And your very body language is keeping the door shut. You are doing everything right on the surface, but your mechanics are wrong underneath. You are using physical force to solve a metaphysical problem. When you say, I command abundance, but your stomach is tight, and your jaw is clenched, and your thoughts are racing with, what if it doesn't work? The emotional tone speaks louder than the words. The universe and the subconscious mind and the invisible law do not respond to your vocabulary. They respond to your state. You can say the word peace, but if you scream it with rage, you are creating rage, not peace. You can say the word wealth, but if you say it with the trembling voice of poverty, you are creating poverty. The signal is the feeling, not the syllable, and pressure is not a state of authority. It is a state of pleading disguised as command. This is why some people speak very few affirmations and see results effortlessly, while others repeat them like a full-time job and feel drained. One is relaxed, the other is strained, one is inwardly settled. The other is emotionally leaning forward. Authority never chases. Authority expects. We must also talk about the specific agony of the delay that pressure creates. Emotional pressure keeps you in a constant loop of anticipation and disappointment. You are always waiting. You are always watching. You are always checking. Is it here yet? Did it move? Did I say it right? And in that loop of constant checking, you never arrive. You only wait. Waiting is a silent declaration that you believe fulfillment is elsewhere. It is later. It is conditional. The law of life works when you are inwardly aligned with the outcome, not emotionally obsessed with it. Obsession repels. Calm expectancy attracts. Have you ever noticed how a cat behaves? If you chase a cat, it will run from you. It doesn't matter if you have the best food in your hand. If you run at it with intensity, it perceives you as a predator and it flees. But if you sit down, if you become still, if you ignore the cat and simply hold the space, the cat will eventually get curious. It will come to you. It will rub against your leg. Life behaves exactly like that cat. You have been chasing your dreams with a net and a megaphone, and life has been running away from you because your energy is aggressive. This is why people often receive breakthroughs right after they give up. This is a phenomenon we see all the time. A person tries to sell their house for a year. They stress, they clean, they worry. Nothing happens. Finally, they say, I am done. I don't care anymore. I will just stay here. They release the pressure. And the next day, the phone rings with a buyer. They think the miracle happened because they stopped caring. No, it happened because they stopped pressuring. The pipe was clogged with their anxiety. When they walked away, they unclogged the pipe and the water could finally flow. Pressure is saying, I don't trust the process. Release is saying, it is handled. You do not have to give up on the desire, but you must give up on the stranglehold you have on the desire. Let us go deeper into the physical symptoms of this diagnosis, because your body never lies. If you want to know if you are in faith or in pressure, check your body. Is your breathing shallow? Are your shoulders up by your ears? Is there a knot in your solar plexus? That is the biology of fight or flight. That is the biology of a survival emergency. Manifestation cannot happen in a state of emergency. Emergency energy is for running from a bear, not for attracting $1 million. When you are in emergency mode, your field contracts. You become small. You become dense. You repel opportunity because opportunity is looking for an open door and you are a fortress with the gates locked. You are trying to protect yourself from failure, but in doing so, you are protecting yourself from success. The tragic irony of this condition is that you believe your worry is helping. You believe that if you stop worrying, things will fall apart. You think your anxiety is the glue holding your life together. This is the great lie of the ego. Your anxiety is not the glue, it is the solvent. It dissolves the divine design. It creates static on the line. Imagine you are trying to tune into a radio station that plays the music of your perfect life, but you are standing next to the radio screaming with worry. Your screaming is interfering with the signal. You cannot hear the music and you cannot broadcast the music. You must understand that silence is a carrier wave. Peace is a carrier wave. When you drop the pressure, you clear the static. So the diagnosis is clear. You are not failing because you are broken. You are failing because you are blocking. You are like a gardener who plants a seed and then stomps on the ground every hour to make sure it is staying there. You are crushing the life out of your own creation with the weight of your fear. You are applying force to a realm that requires flow. You are trying to manipulate the outside world to soothe your inside world. But it works the other way around. You must soothe the inside world, and then the outside world will reshape itself to match your peace. You have been operating under the false assumption that hard work equals merit. In the spiritual realm, merit is measured by trust. The more you trust, the less you strain. The less you strain, the faster it comes. I want you to really let this sink in. Your struggle is not noble, it is unnecessary. It is a misunderstanding of physics. You have been pushing the pull door for years and wondering why your arms hurt. It is time to stop pushing. It is time to step back. It is time to read the sign on the door again. It says pull. It says attract. It says allow. The door is not locked. It never was. You were just trying to open it the wrong way. This is the diagnosis, and recognizing this is the first step toward the cure. You do not need to do more. You need to do less. You need to drop the rock you have been carrying, and when you do, you will realize that gravity was on your side the whole time. Now that we have diagnosed the condition of emotional pressure, we must move into the laboratory of the soul to understand the mechanics of why it destroys your results. We need to look at the physics of spirit. Many people treat manifestation like magic or luck, but it is neither. It is a system of laws as precise as electricity. You would not try to fix a lamp by yelling at it or by squeezing the cord tighter. You would check the connection and the flow of the current. In the spiritual realm, your emotional state is the current and your pressure is the short circuit. We must understand exactly how pressure acts as a counterforce to your own desires. The fundamental principle you must grasp today is that emotional pressure cancels commands. It is not a neutral force. It is a destructive force. When you combine a positive affirmation with a negative pressure, you do not get a neutral result. You get a negative result because the pressure is always heavier and more dense than the words. Let us use the metaphor of the check again, because it is the most accurate description of this energetic transaction. Imagine that your conscious mind is the writer of a check. You take out the checkbook of the universe and you write a check for perfect health or for a new home or for a loving relationship. You sign it with your name. The check is perfect. The ink is dry. The funds are available in the divine bank. But then, as you walk toward the teller to deposit it, you are seized by fear. You start shaking. You clutch the check so tightly in your hand that you crumple it, and then in a moment of panic, thinking the bank might close or the teller might reject you, you rip the check into tiny pieces. You walk up to the counter and you hand the teller a pile of confetti. The teller cannot cash confetti. The value was there, but your handling of the instrument destroyed it. This is what you do every day. Your morning prayer is the writing of the check. Your afternoon worry is the shredding of the check. You are canceling your own order before it can even be processed by the universal intelligence. We must understand that the universe does not speak English or Spanish or any human language. The universe speaks frequency. It speaks vibration. Words are simply containers for vibration. If the container is labeled faith but the contents are fear, the universe tastes the fear and responds to the fear. When you say, "I command abundance," but your stomach is tight and your jaw is clenched and your thoughts are racing with what if it does not work, the emotional tone speaks louder than the words. You are broadcasting on two different frequencies at the same time. Your mouth is broadcasting FM 100 success, but your vibration is broadcasting AM 50 desperation. The universe always tunes into the AM station of your vibration because that is where your true belief lives. The subconscious mind does not listen to what you say, it listens to how you feel when you say it. It creates what you are, not what you want. And if you are pressured, you are vibrating the lack of the thing you want. This brings us to the physics of resistance. There is a law in physics that says for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. In the spiritual realm, when you push against life, life pushes back. This is why we say pressure is resistance wearing a costume. When you apply emotional pressure, you are pushing against the current reality. You are fighting the present moment. And because what you resist persists, the more you push against your debt, the heavier it becomes. The more you fight your loneliness, the more isolated you feel. You are feeding the problem with your energy. You are giving it life. Pressure is a declaration that the problem is real and formidable. If you truly believed the problem was solved, you would not be pressuring it. You would be ignoring it or laughing at it. The very fact that you are straining is the proof that you are impressed by the obstacle. And as long as you are impressed by the obstacle, you cannot remove it. Think of the door metaphor we touched on earlier. Visualize a door that opens inward toward you. This door represents the entry of your good into your life. The sign on the door says, pull. Pulling represents attraction. It represents allowing. It represents drawing things to you through magnetism. But you are in a state of panic, so you lean your entire body weight against the door, and you push. You push with your logic. You push with your hard work. You push with your worry. The more you push, the tighter the door seals shut. You are physically blocking the very opening you are praying for. You are the obstacle. It is not that God is withholding the blessing. It is that you are leaning against the door so hard that the blessing cannot get in. If you would just step back. If you would just take your hands off the wood. If you would just relax. The door would swing open on its own hinges because the momentum of the universe is always trying to bring you your good. You have to get out of the way. We need to talk about the signal-to-noise ratio. In radio transmission, if you have too much static, the music cannot be heard. Emotional pressure is static, it is noise. When you are frantic and desperate, you are creating a chaotic interference pattern in your energy field. The divine design for your life is a clear, coherent signal. It is a melody of perfect order. But your anxiety is like a jackhammer pounding on the pavement next to the orchestra. It drowns out the guidance. You cannot hear the intuition that is trying to tell you where to go. You cannot feel the subtle nudges that would lead you to the right person. You are blinded and deafened by your own noise. This is why people in a state of pressure often make terrible decisions. They act out of urgency rather than inspiration. They try to force doors open that are meant to stay closed, and they miss the open doors that are right next to them. Pressure makes you spiritually blind. Let us consider the nature of authority versus force. There is a profound difference between power and force. Force is what you use when you are weak. You use force to move a rock. You use force to break a lock. But power is what you use when you are sovereign. The sun does not force the flowers to open. It simply shines, and the flowers respond to the power of the light. Gravity does not force you to stay on the ground. It simply exists, and you are held by it. True spiritual authority operates like gravity and sunlight. It is a state of being, not a state of doing. When you are in your authority, you do not need to pressure the universe. You expect the universe to align with you. Pressure is the behavior of someone who thinks they are a slave, trying to convince a master. Authority is the behavior of a master who knows the law obeys them. When you pressure, you are acting like a servant. When you relax, you are acting like a king. The universe responds to kings. It ignores servants who do not know their place. There is also a biological component to this physics. When you are under emotional pressure, your body goes into survival mode. You release cortisol and adrenaline. You narrow your focus to immediate threats. In this state, your energy field contracts. You become dense. You become heavy. Manifestation requires a high vibration. It requires lightness. It requires expansion. You cannot be expanded and contracted at the same time. When you are contracted by pressure, you literally repel the things you want. Money runs away from desperation. Love runs away from neediness. Health runs away from stress. You become a repellent to your own desires. You are walking around with a sign on your energy field that says danger, stay away, and then you wonder why the good things are keeping their distance. They are reacting to your signal. You must change the signal from emergency to welcome. The physics of spirit also involves the law of assumption. To assume means to take on the feeling of the wish fulfilled. If you assume something is true, you relax. If I tell you that a package is waiting for you at the front door and you believe me, you do not pace the room wondering if it will arrive. You assume it is there and you go to open the door. The feeling of assumption is one of relief and closure, but pressure is the feeling of open loops. It is the feeling of it is not here yet. As long as you are pressuring, you are affirming absence. You cannot fool the law. The law reads your energy signature. If your signature says wanting, you will stay in the state of wanting. If your signature says having, you will move into the state of having. Pressure is the signature of wanting. It keeps you trapped in the hallway of desire forever. You might say, but I am pressing because I care. I am pressing because this is important to me. Let me correct that misunderstanding. You are not pressing because you care. You are pressing because you doubt. Pressure is the symptom of a lack of trust. If you trusted the chef, you would not stand in the kitchen yelling at him. You would sit at the table and drink your wine. The fact that you are in the kitchen interfering with the pots and pans proves that you do not think the chef knows what he is doing. When you pressure the universe, you are insulting the divine intelligence. You are saying, I do not think you can handle this, so I have to force it. This lack of trust breaks the connection. Faith is confidence. Pressure is insecurity. You cannot build a life of security on a foundation of insecurity. We must also look at the concept of cancel. In metaphysics, we often teach people to say cancel when they have a negative thought. But emotional pressure is a continuous broadcast of cancel. You say I am wealthy and then you worry for an hour. That hour of worry is 1,000 cancels. You are building a wall of bricks and then kicking it down every afternoon. You are exhausting yourself and making no progress. The physics of creation requires momentum. It requires a steady, sustained signal. When you drop the pressure, you allow the signal to become steady. You allow the momentum to build. You stop interrupting the download. Imagine trying to download a large file on a computer, but you keep unplugging the internet every few minutes because you are afraid it is taking too long. You are the one resetting the download to 0. Stop unplugging the cord. Let the process finish. Finally, consider the elasticity of reality. Reality is not hard and fixed. It is fluid and malleable. It responds to the touch of your consciousness. When you touch it with a heavy hand, it hardens. When you touch it with a light hand, it yields. Pressure is a heavy hand. It makes the problems in your life seem solid and immovable. Ease is a light hand. It makes the problems dissolve. The more you struggle against a knot, the tighter it gets. The more you gently tease the strings apart, the easier it unravels. You have been pulling at the knots of your life with frustration, and you have made them impossible to untie. It is time to let go of the strings. It is time to let the master hand take over. The physics is clear. Force creates counterforce. Flow creates alignment. You have tried force and it has failed. Now you must try flow. You must try the way of the open hand. The open hand can receive. The clenched fist can only strike. And you are done fighting. You are ready to receive. This is the law. This is the physics. And it works every time you work it. We have explored the diagnosis of emotional pressure, and we have dissected the physics of why force cancels commands, but now we must move into the realm of identity, because ultimately you do not manifest what you want, you manifest who you are. The universe is a mirror that reflects your dominant state of being back to you as reality. To understand why your hard work has failed, and why your pressure has backfired, we need to look at two distinct archetypes of consciousness that exist within every human soul. These are not social classes or economic statuses, they are energetic signatures. I call them the queen and the beggar. In every moment of your spiritual practice, you are either vibrating as the queen or you are vibrating as the beggar. And the tragedy of most seekers is that they are trying to manifest a palace while wearing the energetic rags of a beggar. You cannot fool the mirror. If you stand before the mirror of life begging for mercy, it will reflect back a life that needs mercy. If you stand before it commanding with grace, it will reflect back a kingdom. Let us examine the beggar archetype first, because it is the default setting for the unawakened ego. The beggar operates from a fundamental belief in separation and lack. The beggar believes that the power is outside of himself. He believes that the good he desires is owned by a reluctant universe that must be convinced or bribed or tricked into giving it up. When the beggar prays, he pleads. He bargains, he explains. He says, "Please God, I need this money because my rent is due, and I have been a good person, and I promise I will work harder." Listen to that energy. It is heavy, it is desperate, it is trembling. It assumes that the answer is no, unless he can prove otherwise. The beggar repeats his request 1,000 times, not because he enjoys the conversation, but because he fears he has not been heard. He checks the mail every hour. He watches the phone. He lives in a state of chronic anxiety because he has no authority. He is at the mercy of external forces. And because the universe responds to state and not to words, the universe says, "I see you are vibrating as a victim, so I will give you more circumstances that make you feel like a victim." The beggar chases the blessing, but the blessing always runs faster. Now let us shift our gaze to the queen. And when I say queen, I mean the archetype of spiritual royalty, which applies to every man and woman. The queen knows who she is. She knows her lineage. She knows that she is a child of the Most High, and that the kingdom is not something she has to earn. It is something she inherits by divine right. Imagine a queen sitting on her throne in a great palace. She desires a cup of tea. How does she ask for it? Does she run into the kitchen screaming at the staff? Does she fall to her knees and beg the cook to please consider making her a beverage? Does she pace back and forth in the throne room, wringing her hands, worrying about whether there is enough water in the kettle? Of course not. Such behavior would be absurd. It would be beneath her station. The queen simply turns to her servant and says quietly, "I would like some tea." And then this is the crucial part. She turns her attention back to her book or her conversation. She moves on. She does not follow the servant into the kitchen to supervise. She does not ask, "Are you sure you can do it?" She assumes it is done. She assumes obedience. Her authority is so absolute that she does not even need to think about the mechanics of the delivery. She knows the tea is coming because she ordered it. The delay between the order and the arrival does not worry her. She enjoys the wait because she knows the outcome is inevitable. This is the energy you must bring to your manifestation. Most of you are approaching the infinite intelligence with the energy of the beggar, but using the words of the queen. You say, "I am abundant," which is a royal decree, but you say it with the trembling voice of a pauper who is terrified of being evicted. You cannot disguise the vibration. The universe is not listening to the sentence, "I am abundant." It is listening to the tremor in your voice. It is listening to the tightness in your solar plexus. It detects the fraud. True authority is calm. It is settled. It does not need to raise its voice. If you have to scream your affirmations, it is because you do not believe them. If you have to repeat them 500 times a day in a panic, it is because you are trying to convince yourself, not the universe. A queen does not scream. A queen does not explain herself. A queen commands and expects. Let us look at the concept of explanation. The beggar explains. The queen decrees. When you find yourself explaining to God why you need the money or why you deserve the love, you have slipped into the beggar state. You are acting as if God is a loan officer at a bank who needs to see your credentials before approving the loan. This is a misunderstanding of your relationship with the divine. You are not an applicant. You are an heir. Does an heir have to apply for their inheritance? No. They simply claim it. When you explain, you are validating the possibility that you might not get it. You are debating the merit of your desire. The queen never debates her desire. Her desire is the law. The moment she desires the tea is already on its way. The moment you desire the good, the supply is already rushing toward you. Stop explaining. Stop justifying. Stop apologizing for what you want. Simply state it. I accept this perfect job. I welcome this healing. I receive this wealth. Done. The period at the end of the sentence is more powerful than the sentence itself because the period signifies the end of the discussion. We must also talk about the pacing. The beggar paces the room. He is restless. He cannot sit still because he believes that if he stops moving, the world will collapse. He is addicted to the illusion of effort. He thinks that his worry is the engine that keeps the universe running. The queen sits still. She rests. This rest is not laziness, it is the highest form of faith. It is the stillness of someone who knows the order has been received and the machinery of the kingdom is working. When you have placed your order with the universal mind, any further agitation is an insult to the mind. It implies that the mind is incompetent. If you order a package from a company, you do not drive to the warehouse to check on the box. You trust the tracking number. You trust the system. Why do you trust a delivery truck more than you trust the power that spins the galaxies? You must learn to sit on your spiritual throne. You must learn to hold your position. When the doubt comes and says, "It isn't here yet," the beggar jumps up and starts screaming. The queen smiles and says, "It is on the way," and pours another cup of tea. This metaphor of moving on to tea is vital. After the queen gives the command, she engages with the present moment. She does not sit there staring at the empty door waiting for the servant to reappear. That would be desperate. She lives her life. She enjoys her book. She rules her kingdom. Many of you are stuck in the waiting room. You have put your entire life on hold until the manifestation arrives. You are not living, you are waiting. And waiting is a vibration of lack. It says, "I am not complete until this thing arrives." The queen is complete with or without the tea. The tea is a preference, not a savior. This is the paradox of detachment. You must want it, but you must not need it to survive. The beggar needs the coin to survive. The queen wants the tea for pleasure. The universe loves to give to those who enjoy, but it recoils from those who need with desperation. You must find a way to be a queen in your empty room. You must find a way to be a queen with an empty bank account. You must carry yourself with the dignity of someone who knows the vault is open, even if the cash has not hit the hand yet. The shift from beggar to queen is a shift in identity. You must realize that you are not a physical body trying to become spiritual. You are a spiritual being playing a human game. You are an extension of the creative source. When you speak, the source speaks. When you command, the source commands. But you have been conditioned to believe you are small. You have been trained to be polite and apologetic. You have been taught that it is arrogant to expect good things. Let me tell you that humility is not self-abasement. True humility is knowing who you are. It is arrogant to think you have to help God by worrying. It is humble to trust that God can handle it. The beggar is actually the arrogant one because he thinks his worry is necessary. The queen is the humble one because she relies entirely on the unseen servants of the universe. She knows. She does not make the tea herself. She allows it to be made. Consider the energy of chasing. Beggars chase, queens attract. If you see a queen running down the street chasing a carriage, you know something is wrong. It is undignified. It violates the law of her being. Yet you run after money. You run after love. You chase people who do not want you. You chase opportunities that are moving away from you. Stop running. Return to your throne. The throne is your center. It is your inner sanctuary of peace. When you sit on your throne, you become magnetic. The laws of physics change. Instead of you going to the world comes to you. Everything you have been chasing is trying to catch you, but you are moving too fast. Stop, sit, command, and wait with the poise of royalty. This authority is felt, not forced. You do not need to put on a crown or wear fancy clothes. This is an internal posture. It is a feeling in the chest. It is a relaxation of the shoulders. It is a deepening of the breath. The beggar breathes shallowly because he is in survival mode. The queen breathes deeply because she is in creation mode. You can practice this right now. Notice your body. Are you hunched? Are you tense? That is the beggar suit. Take it off. Sit up straight. Open your chest. Breathe slowly. Assume the posture of someone who owns the place. Because in the spiritual realm, you do own the place. All that the Father has is mine. That is the statement of an heir. If all that the Father has is yours, why are you acting like you have to steal a crumb? You might ask, but how can I feel like a queen when I look at my reality and I see ruins? This is the test. The beggar looks at the ruins and says, I am ruined. The queen looks at the ruins and says, I will rebuild. She does not identify with the temporary circumstances. She identifies with her eternal power. A queen in exile is still a queen. She may not have the palace at the moment, but she has the bloodline. She has the authority. And because she holds the consciousness of the queen, the palace must eventually manifest around her. You may be in financial exile right now. You may be in romantic exile. It does not matter. Do not let the exile define you. Let your lineage define you. Walk through your ruins with your head high. Speak to your empty cupboards with authority. Command the dry bones to live. Do not beg them to live. Command them. The universe is waiting for your command. It is standing at attention like a vast army, but it is confused because you are sending mixed signals. You issue a command, and then you cancel it with a plea. You say advance, and then you scream retreat. You must stabilize your signal. You must become a benevolent monarch over your own mind. When a fear thought enters the throne room, do not cower before it. Look at it and say, you are not welcome here. Leave. You have the power to banish thoughts. You have the power to choose your focus. The beggar is a slave to his thoughts. The queen is the mistress of her mind. She chooses what to entertain. She chooses where to look. She does not stare at the problem, she stares at the solution. So the lesson is clear. You must abdicate the position of the beggar. You must resign from the job of the struggler. It does not serve you, and it does not honor your Creator. You must ascend to the throne that was prepared for you before the foundations of the world. This requires a change in your language and a change in your posture. Stop saying, I hope. Start saying, I know. Stop saying, maybe. Start saying, it is done. Stop asking when. Start saying now. The queen lives in the now. The beggar lives in the vague future. The power is in the now. When you claim your authority, you stop fighting the world and you start orchestrating it. You stop pushing the river and you start sailing the ship. The tea is ready. The kingdom is ready. The only question is, are you ready to stop begging and sit down and drink? Before we move on to the engine that drives your pressure, I want to invite you to take your seat on the throne. We are building a community here of people who are finished with begging and are ready to start commanding their divine right. If you want to master the laws of Florence Scovel Shinn and learn how to speak the language of the Queen, please take a moment to click the subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a lesson in spiritual mastery. By subscribing, you are telling the universe that you are ready for the higher knowledge. Now, let us uncover the illusion that is making you rush. To understand this dynamic, we need to look at the relationship between your ego and your higher self. We can illustrate this with a very human and very real metaphor. Imagine a car on a long road trip. In the driver's seat sits a wise, experienced adult. This driver knows the destination perfectly. He has the GPS, he knows the traffic patterns, he knows where the road construction is, he knows exactly how much gas is in the tank. He is calm, he is focused, he is authoritative. This driver represents the superconscious mind or the universal intelligence. It is the part of you that is connected to the divine plan. Now imagine in the back seat there is a 5-year-old child. This child cannot see out the windshield. He does not have a map. He has no concept of distance or time. All he knows is that he is strapped in and he is bored and he wants to be there now. This child represents your conscious ego. It is the part of you that is limited by your 5 senses and your past conditioning. The tragedy of your spiritual life is that you have allowed the child to scream at the driver. The child kicks the back of the seat every 5 seconds yelling, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Why are we stopping? Why are we going this way? This is taking too long. I hate this car." The child thinks that his screaming is making the car go faster. He thinks that if he kicks the seat hard enough, the driver will somehow teleport them to the destination. But does the child's anxiety help the journey? No. It hinders it. It distracts the driver. It creates tension in the vehicle. It makes the ride miserable for everyone. And in extreme cases, if the child screams loud enough, he might cause the driver to pull over just to calm him down, which actually delays the arrival even further. To understand this dynamic, we need to look at the relationship between your ego and your higher self. We can illustrate this with a very human and very real metaphor. Imagine a car on a long road trip. In the driver's seat sits a wise, experienced adult. This driver knows the destination perfectly. He has the GPS. He knows the traffic patterns. He knows where the road construction is. He knows exactly how much gas is in the tank. He is calm. He is focused. He is authoritative. This driver represents the superconscious mind or the universal intelligence. It is the part of you that is connected to the divine plan. Now imagine, in the back seat, there is a 5-year-old child. This child cannot see out the windshield. He does not have a map. He has no concept of distance or time. All he knows is that he is strapped in and he is bored and he wants to be there now. This child represents your conscious ego. It is the part of you that is limited by your 5 senses and your past conditioning. The tragedy of your spiritual life is that you have allowed the child to scream at the driver. The child kicks the back of the seat every 5 seconds yelling, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Why are we stopping? Why are we going this way? This is taking too long. I hate this car." The child thinks that his screaming is making the car go faster. He thinks that if he kicks the seat hard enough, the driver will somehow teleport them to the destination. But does the child's anxiety help the journey? No. It hinders it. It distracts the driver. It creates tension in the vehicle. It makes the ride miserable for everyone. And in extreme cases, if the child screams loud enough, he might cause the driver to pull over just to calm him down, which actually delays the arrival even further. You are doing this to the universe every single day. Your emotional pressure is the child kicking the seat of God. You are demanding an arrival time without understanding the conditions of the road. We must understand why the driver slows down. This is where your trust breaks. When your manifestation seems to stall, you panic. You think the driver has fallen asleep or forgotten you, but the driver sees what you cannot see. The driver sees a massive accident 5 miles ahead that you are being protected from. He slows down the car to ensure that you do not arrive at that intersection at the exact moment of impact. The delay that you are cursing is actually a divine intervention that is saving your life. Or perhaps the driver sees that the bridge ahead is out and he has to take a detour through a scenic route. You look out the window and say, "This doesn't look like the highway. Why are we on a dirt road?" You scream in frustration. But the driver knows that the dirt road is the only safe way across the canyon. The illusion of urgency makes you blind to protection. You are so obsessed with speed that you sacrifice safety. You would rather drive off a cliff at 100 miles an hour than arrive safely at 50. Urgency also creates a phenomenon called tunnel vision. When you are rushing, you lose your peripheral vision. You become hyper-focused on the one thing you think you need right now. You think, "I need this specific job or this specific person." You grip the steering wheel of your life so tight that your knuckles turn white. But because you are staring straight ahead with panic, you miss the exit signs that the universe is posting for you. You miss the better job that was posted on the side road. You miss the soulmate who is waving at you from the other lane. The intuition, the voice of the driver, is a quiet voice. It speaks in hunches and subtle nudges. It says, "Turn left here." It says, "Wait a moment." It says, "Call this person." But you cannot hear the whisper of guidance when the child in the back seat is screaming. Urgency is noise. It drowns out the very instructions that would get you to your destination faster. Let us dismantle the fear that you are running out of time. This is the root of urgency. You look at your age and you say, "I am too old." You look at the economy and you say, "I missed the window." You look at your peers and you say, "They are ahead of me." This is linear thinking. It is 3D thinking. The spirit does not operate in linear time. The spirit operates in kairos time, which is the opportune moment. The universe can bend time. It can collapse timelines. What takes a human 10 years of striving can be accomplished by the spirit in 10 minutes of alignment. We have all seen this. We know people who struggled for decades and then met one person and their entire life changed overnight. That is the collapse of time. You do not need more time, you need more alignment. When you align with the driver, you enter the flow. In the flow, time becomes elastic. You can accomplish more in a day of flow than in a year of force. So stop looking at the clock. The clock is a tool for scheduling meetings. It is not a tool for measuring your potential. The child in the back seat believes that he needs to control the car to be safe. This is the illusion of control. You think that by worrying, you are controlling the outcome. You think that your anxiety is the steering wheel. But your anxiety is not the steering wheel, it is the brake. Every time you worry, you are slamming on the spiritual brakes. You are introducing resistance into a system that is designed to flow. Imagine if the child actually climbed into the front seat and grabbed the wheel. Chaos would ensue. The car would crash. Yet you try to grab the wheel of the universe. You try to manipulate people. You try to force doors open. You try to make things happen before their season. And when you inevitably crash, you blame the car. You blame the road. You blame God. But the fault lies in your refusal to sit in the passenger seat. The passenger seat is the place of power because it is the place of trust. The passenger can sleep. The passenger can look at the scenery. The passenger can enjoy the ride, knowing they are being chauffeured by the infinite. There is a profound difference between being passive and being a passenger. People reject the idea of surrender because they think it means doing nothing. It means being lazy. This is false. The passenger is not dead. The passenger is alert. The passenger is ready to exit when the car stops. The passenger is ready to help if asked. But the passenger does not try to drive. Surrender is not the absence of action, it is the absence of resistance. It is the absence of the frantic need to be somewhere else. When you drop the urgency, you become available to the present moment. And the present moment is the only place where creation happens. You cannot create in the future, because the future does not exist yet. You cannot create in the past, because it is gone. You can only create now. Urgency pulls you out of the now and throws you into a hypothetical future where you are lacking something. By constantly projecting yourself into the future, you vacate the seat of power in the present. You leave your body empty, and an empty house cannot attract a guest. Let us talk about the concept of divine detours. Sometimes the driver takes a route that makes absolutely no sense to the ego. You want to be a famous writer, but you end up working in a warehouse. You scream, "Why am I here? This is a waste of time." But the driver knows that in that warehouse you will meet the person who introduces you to your publisher. Or, in that warehouse you will learn the discipline that allows you to write your masterpiece. Or, in that warehouse you will hear a story that becomes your bestseller. You cannot see the connection because you are in the back seat. You have a limited view. The driver has the satellite view. He sees how the warehouse connects to the stage. He sees how the heartbreak connects to the healing. He sees how the delay connects to the destiny. Your job is not to navigate. Your job is to trust the navigator. When you complain about the detour, you are essentially saying, "I know better than God." That is the arrogance of the child. Humility is admitting that your view is limited and trusting the view that is infinite. Urgency also masks itself as care. You think I am rushing because I care about my family, or I am rushing because I want to make a difference. But true care is gentle. True care is sustainable. Urgency burns you out. If you drive a car at maximum speed constantly, the engine will overheat and explode. You are overheating your nervous system. You are frying your adrenal glands. You are exhausting your spirit. And a broken down car cannot reach the destination no matter how fast it was going. The universe needs you to be a sustainable vessel. It needs you to be healthy and whole to hold the blessing. The delay is often a period of maintenance. The driver has pulled over to let the engine cool down. He has pulled over to refuel. You are screaming, "Go, go, go," but if he went, you would burn out. The pause is part of the progress. The rest is part of the race. So how do we quiet the child? We do not scream at the child to shut up. That just adds more noise. We treat the child with compassion, but we do not give him the keys. We acknowledge the fear. We say, "I know you are scared. I know you think we are going to be late. I know you want to be there now," but the driver has this handled. You soothe your own ego. You parent your own mind. You use the anchor statements we talked about. "I am safe in the waiting." It is handled. These are lullabies for the anxious child. When the child feels safe, he stops kicking the seat. He falls asleep. And when the child sleeps, the car can move smoothly. The tension leaves the vehicle. The driver can focus. The ride becomes a pleasure instead of a punishment. I want you to try a shift in perspective today. Instead of asking, "Are we there yet?" ask, "What is here for me right now?" Look out the window of your life. Maybe the scenery is beautiful, even if it is not the destination yet. Maybe there is a lesson in this stretch of road. Maybe there is a song playing on the radio that you need to hear. When you engage with the journey, you collapse the feeling of time. Time drags when you are waiting. Time flies when you are enjoying. If you want the wait to be over faster, enjoy the wait. Paradoxically, when you stop caring about when you arrive, because you have removed the resistance of time. You have synchronized your watch with God's watch. And God is never late. Remember that the driver loves you. This is the piece that is often missing. You think the universe is indifferent or cruel. You think it is holding out on you. But the driver is your higher self. It is the aspect of you that loves you unconditionally. It wants you to reach the destination more than you do. It wants you to have the kingdom. It is navigating through traffic and storms and obstacles that you cannot even imagine just to get you there safely. Your screaming feels like a lack of gratitude. Imagine driving someone who complains the whole way. You would want to let them out. But the universe is patient. It keeps driving. It endures your tantrums. But wouldn't it be better, more graceful, more dignified to sit back and trust? So today, take a deep breath and settle into the seat. Unclench your hands from the phantom steering wheel. Look in the mirror and tell the child, "We are okay. We are on our way." Feel the hum of the engine. That is the power of the universe working for you. It is moving even when you are stopped at a red light. It is working even when you are sleeping. The momentum is real. The destination is guaranteed. The only variable is your state of mind during the trip. You can arrive stressed, exhausted, and angry, or you can arrive rested, smiling, and ready to receive. The choice is yours. The driver is going there anyway. You might as well enjoy the ride. The illusion of urgency is just a nightmare. Wake up. You have plenty of time because you dwell in eternity, and in eternity nothing is ever lost and nothing is ever late. We arrive now at the most counterintuitive instruction in the entire manual of manifestation. It is a concept that the human ego fights with every weapon it has because it feels dangerous. It feels like surrender in the wrong sense of the word. We must talk about the paradox of softening and the immense creative power hidden inside the pause. In our modern world, we have equated hardness with strength. We speak of hard work and hard facts and hard realities. We armor ourselves against the world. We tighten our muscles. We grit our teeth. We harden our hearts to protect them from pain. And we bring this same hardness into our spiritual practice. We think that to command reality we must be rigid. We think we must hold the vision with a grip of steel. But the spiritual law operates on a paradox. In the kingdom of spirit, hardness is brittleness. Hardness breaks. It is softness that endures. It is softness that receives. And if you are finding that your manifestations are hitting a wall, it is likely because you have become too hard to let them in. Let us define what we mean by softening. We do not mean weakness. We do not mean becoming a doormat. We do not mean losing your spine. We mean the deliberate relaxation of resistance. Think of the difference between an oak tree and a willow tree in a hurricane. The oak tree is hard. It is rigid. It says, I will not move. I will fight the wind. And because it does not yield, when the wind becomes stronger than the wood, the oak tree snaps and is destroyed. The willow tree is soft. It is flexible. It yields to the wind. It bends all the way to the ground if necessary. It offers no resistance to the force. And when the hurricane passes, the willow tree stands back up unharmed. Its softness was its survival strategy. Its softness was its strength. You have been trying to be the oak tree fighting the winds of delay and doubt, and you are snapping. It is time to become the willow. It is time to learn the power of the bend. The paradox is that you believe effort creates results. In the physical world of moving rocks and building walls, this is true, but in the metaphysical world of moving energy, effort creates friction. Friction creates heat, and heat burns up the energy before it can manifest. Softening removes the friction. When you soften your mental grip, you allow the divine energy to flow through you without obstruction. Imagine a hose with water rushing through it. If you kink the hose with your anxiety and your need to control the water stops flowing, you might think you are helping by squeezing the hose tighter, but you are cutting off the supply. Softening is simply unkinking the hose. It is the act of standing back and letting the pressure of the universal spirit do the work. The water wants to flow. The good wants to reach you. You are the one stopping it with your tension. This brings us to the power of the pause. We are terrified of stopping. We are addicted to busyness because busyness makes us feel worthy. If we are doing something, we feel safe. If we pause, we feel like we are falling behind. We feel like we are losing control. But the pause is not empty space. The pause is the womb of creation. Look at music. Music is not just a collection of notes. If you played every note on the piano at once without stopping, it would be noise, not music. It is the silence between the notes that creates the rhythm and the melody. The beauty of the music lives in the pauses. Your life is the same. If you are constantly active, constantly thinking, constantly worrying, you are creating noise. You are not letting the divine melody play. You must insert pauses into your desperation to allow the harmony to enter. There is a biological imperative here as well. When you are in a state of hardness, you are in the sympathetic nervous system. This is the fight or flight response. In this state, your body shuts down all non-essential functions, including the higher functions of intuition and creativity and magnetism. You literally cannot attract, when you are in fight or flight, because you are biologically broadcasting a signal of repel. You are pushing the world away to protect yourself. When you soften, you switch into the parasympathetic nervous system. This is the rest and digest state. Or, as I call it, the rest and receive state. Your blood vessels dilate, your heart rate slows, your energy field expands. You become an open vessel. Softening is the biological switch that turns on your magnetic field. You cannot force this switch with your mind. You must flip it with your body and your breath. Let us revisit the 3 questions of pressure, because they are the diagnostic tools for your hardness. First, am I trying to feel something into existence? This is a subtle form of violence. You are trying to manipulate your own emotions, to manipulate reality. You are trying to squeeze joy out of a lemon of fear. It does not work. Second, am I monitoring the outcome excessively? This is the behavior of a prison guard, not a creator. A creator trusts the creation. A guard watches the prisoner. If you are watching your desire like a hawk, you are keeping it in prison. You must soften your gaze. Look away. Trust that it is growing without your supervision. Third, do I feel tense after declaring what I want? If you declare, I am wealthy, and then your stomach tightens, you have hit a wall of hardness. You must pause right there. Do not push through the tension. Dissolve the tension. Stop speaking. Breathe. Wait until you can say it with softness. A soft whisper of truth is more powerful than a shouted lie. So how do we practice this softening practically? We do it by engaging with the mundane. This is a secret that the great mystics knew. When you are waiting for a massive miracle, the best thing you can do is something incredibly small and ordinary. Make a cup of tea, wash the dishes, fold the laundry, water the plants. Why does this work? Because these simple actions signal to your subconscious mind that there is no emergency. If you were being chased by a lion, you would not stop to brew a pot of Earl Grey tea. The act of making tea implies safety. It implies leisure. It implies that you have time. By performing a non-urgent act, you trick your nervous system out of urgency. You ground the high voltage of your anxiety into the earth of the present moment. The tea becomes a prayer. The dishwashing becomes a meditation. You are telling the universe, I am so sure that my good is coming, that I can afford to just stand here and wash this plate. That is power. Many people say I am trying so hard to let go. This is the ultimate comedy of the spiritual path. You cannot try to let go. Trying is a tightening. Letting go is a loosening. It is like saying, I am trying to drop this rock. You do not try to drop a rock. You just open your hand, and gravity takes it. The rock of your burden is heavy. Gravity wants to take it from you. The universe wants to carry the load. But you have to open your fingers. Softening is the act of opening the fingers one by one. You release the need to know how. You release the need to know when. You release the need to control who. And as you open your hand, you find that you have not lost anything. You have simply freed your hands to receive something better. You cannot catch a blessing with a clenched fist. Consider the archer. To shoot an arrow, you must pull back the bowstring. This creates tension, but if the archer holds the tension forever, the arrow never flies. He will eventually shake and collapse from the strain. The power of the arrow is not in the holding. The power is in the release. The release is the moment of softening. The fingers must relax instantly to let the string go. Your manifestation is the arrow. Your desire is the tension. But your trust is the release. You have been holding the bowstring for 5 years. Your arm is shaking. You are exhausted. You think that holding on makes you a dedicated archer. No, it makes you a tired one. Let go. Soften your fingers. Let the arrow fly. Once the arrow leaves the bow, it is no longer your concern. It belongs to the wind and the physics of the shot. Trust that you aimed well and let it go. There is a fear that if we soften, we will become lazy or passive. We fear that if we stop pushing, the whole world will stop turning. This is the arrogance of the ego, believing it is the motor of the universe. The world turns without your help. The sun rises without your permission. Your heart beats without your supervision. Life is a self-sustaining system. When you soften, you do not stop the movement of life, you synchronize with it. You move from being the engine to being the sail. The engine has to work hard and burn fuel and make noise. The sail simply catches the wind and moves effortlessly. Softening is unfurling your sail. It is becoming available to the power that is already moving. It requires a different kind of alertness. You have to feel the wind. You have to adjust the ropes. But you do not have to blow into the sail yourself. The power of the pause is also about creating a vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. When you stop your frantic mental chatter, you create a silence. That silence is a vacuum, and the voice of God rushes in to fill it. Inspiration rushes in. Solutions rush in. But they cannot get in if the room is full of your noise. You have to stop talking to hear the answer. You have to stop moving to be moved. This is why the Sabbath was created. It was not a rule to restrict people. It was a spiritual technology. 6 days of labor and 1 day of pause. The pause sanctifies the labor. The pause allows the cement to set. If you keep poking the wet cement, it never hardens into a foundation. You must walk away and let it set. The pause is the setting period. It is the time when the invisible becomes visible. I want you to try this physically right now. Clench your jaw, tighten your shoulders, make a fist, hold it. Notice how you feel. You feel isolated. You feel defensive. You feel separate from the room. Now exhale. Drop your jaw. Drop your shoulders. Open your hands. Notice the difference. Suddenly you can hear the sounds in the room. You can feel the air on your skin. You feel connected again. This is what happens spiritually. When you are hard, you are cut off from God. When you soften, you reconnect. The channel opens. The signal is restored. You do not need to scream your prayers across a chasm. You are already plugged in. You just had the switch turned off by your tension. So, the invitation today is to embrace the paradox. To become strong by becoming soft. To do more by doing less. To move faster by standing still. When the urge to force arises, greet it with a pause. Stop. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this action born of fear or flow? If it is fear, do nothing. Go make tea. Wait until the fear subsides and the flow returns. You will find that you get more done in 1 hour of flow than in a week of fear. You will find that people respond to you differently. They will be drawn to your peace. They will trust your authority because it is not frantic. The softest water wears down the hardest stone. Be the water. Flow around the obstacles. Do not crash against them. The obstacle is hard. You be soft. And you will win. This is the mastery of the pause. It is the understanding that the silence is not empty. It is full. It is full of the power that created the stars. And that power is waiting for you to stop fighting so it can start working for you. Soften your eyes. Soften your heart. Soften your expectation. And watch how the hard reality you have been fighting suddenly melts into the dream you have been seeking. The battle is over. You have won by laying down your sword. This is the power of the pause. We have arrived at the moment of truth. We have analyzed the diagnosis of your pressure, and we have understood the spiritual physics of why force fails, but understanding is only the first step. Information without application is merely spiritual entertainment. You do not need more theory, you need a breakthrough. To get that breakthrough, we are going to engage in a radical act of defiance against your own ego. I call this the 24-hour rebellion. This is not a meditation technique and it is not a writing exercise. It is a complete physiological and psychological fast from the addiction of worry. Most of you do not realize that you are addicted to the struggle. You have become so accustomed to the feeling of pushing and striving and checking that you do not know who you are without the tension. You believe that if you put the heavy suitcase down for even 1 second, the world will end. Today we are going to prove that lie wrong. We are going to conduct a controlled experiment in the laboratory of your life to demonstrate that the world actually spins better when you stop trying to push it. Here is the premise of the rebellion. For the next 24 hours you are going to go on a total strike against your problem. You are going to choose the one issue that is causing you the most pain. It might be the debt that keeps you up at night, or the person who hasn't called, or the health issue that scares you. You know exactly what it is because it is the first thing you think about when you wake up and the last thing you think about when you go to sleep. For this one specific issue, you are going to declare a ceasefire. You are going to withdraw all your troops from the battlefield. You are going to stop fighting it, stop fixing it, and stop worrying about it completely. This sounds easy, but I assure you it will be the hardest thing you have ever done because your mind will scream at you. Your mind will tell you that you are being irresponsible. It will tell you that you are in denial. It will tell you that disaster is imminent if you do not worry. This is the voice of the oppressor, and the rebellion is against this voice. The rules of engagement are simple but strict. For 24 hours, you are forbidden from visualizing the outcome. You are forbidden from speaking affirmations about it. You are forbidden from checking for results. You are forbidden from checking your bank account or your phone or your email for news regarding this specific thing. You are putting the entire subject in a spiritual quarantine box. You are sealing the lid. You are handing the box to the infinite intelligence and saying, I am not allowed to touch this until tomorrow. Why are we doing this? Because your current energy is infected. Your prayers are infected with panic. Your visualizations are infected with desperation. Every time you touch the subject, you are contaminating it with your fear. We need to sterilize the field. We need to give the seed a chance to settle into the soil without you digging it up to check the roots. You cannot heal a wound if you keep picking at the scab. This rebellion is the decision to stop picking. Let us talk about what happens when you do this. When you wake up in the morning and the habitual thought comes rushing in, the thought that says, I need to worry about money, you are going to stop it at the gate. You are going to say no. We are not doing that today. Today is the rebellion. And then you are going to pivot your attention aggressively to something else. You are going to focus on the color of the sky. You are going to focus on the taste of your coffee. You are going to focus on gratitude for the things that are working. You are going to force your mind to inhabit the present moment. This is a training of the will. You are taking back the steering wheel from the frightened child in the back seat. You are proving to yourself that you are the master of your attention. You are not a slave to your intrusive thoughts. You have the power to dismiss them. The spiritual logic behind this is based on the law of the vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. When you withdraw the energy of wanting and worrying, you create a space. Most people are afraid of this space because it feels empty. But in the spiritual realm, space is magnetic. When you stop chasing, the energy turns around and starts coming toward you. You have been pushing the pendulum of your life so hard to one side with your anxiety. When you let go, the pendulum must swing back. It is physics. By refusing to engage with the problem, you starve the problem of its life force. Problems feed on attention. They grow big and scary because you feed them 3 meals a day with your worry. When you starve the problem and feed the solution, the dynamic shifts instantly. The problem begins to shrink because it has no energy to sustain it. The solution begins to grow because your peace is the fertilizer. I want you to imagine a farmer who plants a prize seed. He wants this seed to grow more than anything. But because he is so anxious about it, he goes out to the field every hour and digs up the dirt to see if it has sprouted. He shouts at the seed, "Grow faster." He pours buckets of water on it until it drowns. He blocks the sun with his own shadow because he is hovering over it constantly. Does this help the seed? No, it kills the seed. The rebellion is the act of the farmer walking away from the field. It is the farmer going back to the house to eat dinner and sleep. It is the supreme act of trust that the soil knows what to do and the seed knows what to do and the sun knows what to do. The intelligence that grows a giant oak tree from an acorn is the same intelligence that manifests your desires. It does not need your micromanagement. It needs your non-interference. During this 24 hours, you will likely experience a detox effect. You might feel jittery. You might feel a phantom limb syndrome where your mind keeps reaching for the worry and finds nothing there. This is normal. This is your addiction breaking. You are addicted to the adrenaline of stress. You get a chemical hit from the crisis. When you take the crisis away, your body doesn't know what to do with the peace. It feels boring. It feels suspicious. You must breathe through this withdrawal. Tell your body, it is okay to be safe. It is safe to let go. You are retraining your nervous system to tolerate well-being. You are expanding your capacity for joy. Most people have a very low tolerance for joy. As soon as things get too good, they sabotage it with worry just to get back to their normal baseline of stress. The rebellion raises your baseline. What do you do instead of worrying? You do what I call acting as if, but not in the fake way of pretending you are rich when you are poor. You act as if the matter is settled. If you had hired the best lawyer in the world to handle a court case and he called you and said, "It is taken care of, go, enjoy your life," what would you do? You would go to the movies, you would play with your kids, you would sleep soundly. You would not sit by the phone wringing your hands. So for this 24 hours, you are going to act like the client who just got that call. You are going to live your life. You are going to engage with the mundane beauty of existence. You are going to wash the dishes with love. You are going to walk the dog with presence. You are going to laugh. Laughter is the highest form of spiritual warfare. If you can laugh while the problem still exists, you have already won. The problem has lost its power over you. This experiment is also a test of your God concept. Do you believe in a God that requires your constant anxiety to function? Or do you believe in an infinite intelligence that knows what you have need of before you ask? If you have to remind God every 5 minutes to help you, then your God is very small and very forgetful. The rebellion is an act of acknowledging a big God, a capable God, a God who does not need your help, only your permission. When you step back, you give permission. When you step in, you revoke permission. You are saying, "I will handle this my way." And your way is what got you into this mess. Step out of the way. Let the master architect enter the building site. He cannot build while you are standing in the middle of the room screaming instructions. I want to warn you about the trickster voice. About 6 hours into the rebellion, your mind will say, "Okay, this is nice, but we really need to figure out that bill." It will try to lure you back into the logic trap. It will disguise the worry as responsibility. It will say, "You are being irresponsible by ignoring this." You must answer back with authority. You say, "I am not ignoring it. I have delegated it. I have delegated it to the manager of the universe. I am on vacation for 24 hours. You must be ruthless. Do not give the trickster an inch. If you open the door to one worry, 1,000 will rush in. Keep the door sealed. This is a fast. You do not cheat on a fast. At the end of the 24 hours, something miraculous will happen. You will return to the subject, but you will see it differently. The emotional charge will be gone. The panic will be gone. You will look at the problem, and it will seem smaller, manageable. You might even receive a sudden download of inspiration, a solution you never thought of before. This is because you finally quieted the noise long enough for the answer to get through. The answer was always there, but you were too loud to hear it. Or you might find that the situation resolved itself while you were looking the other way. The person called. The money showed up. The symptoms vanished. This happens more often than you think. It is the quantum observer effect. Sometimes, looking away changes the behavior of the particles. If you survive the 24 hours and the sky hasn't fallen, you will have learned the most important lesson of your life. You will learn that your worry is not the glue holding the universe together. You will learn that the world is supported by a love and a law that is independent of your anxiety. This gives you the confidence to extend the rebellion. You might decide to do it for another day, and another, until eventually this becomes your natural state of being. You become a person who lives in the "it is handled" frequency. You become a person of poise, a queen, a king, and people will look at you and wonder why you are so lucky. They won't know that it isn't luck. It is the discipline of non-interference. It is the art of getting out of your own way. So are you brave enough to try it? Are you brave enough to stop playing God and let God be God? It is only one day. You have spent years worrying and it hasn't worked. Why not try one day of trust? The worst that can happen is you get a day of rest. The best that can happen is you unlock the door to your miracle. Choose your target. Draw the line in the sand. Start the clock. The rebellion begins now. And remember, during this time, you are not waiting for something to happen. You are waiting for your resistance to subside so that what has already happened can manifest. The check is written, the package is sent. Get off the porch, go inside and make dinner. Let the delivery man do his job. He knows where you live. He will not miss you, but he cannot deliver the package if you are standing in the doorway blocking the entrance. Step back, breathe, and watch the salvation of the Lord. We have now reached the final and most subtle shift in our journey of mastery. We have diagnosed the pressure, and we have quieted the child, and we have softened our grip. Now we must address the specific frequency of your signal. Everything in the universe operates on vibration, and the difference between a prayer that is answered and a prayer that echoes into the void often comes down to the difference between two simple phrases. Those phrases are, please and of course. Most of you are vibrating at the frequency of please God, I hope this happens. You need to shift to the frequency of course this is happening. This may sound like a play on words, but it is actually a shift in worlds. Please implies that you are on the outside looking in. It implies that the good you desire is separate from you and controlled by a reluctant power that must be persuaded. Of course implies that you are on the inside. It implies that the good is a natural, inevitable consequence of who you are. It is the shift from the energy of the applicant to the energy of the architect. Let us dissect the vibration of please. I am not talking about good manners. In human society, please is a sign of respect. But in spiritual law, please, when driven by desperation, is a sign of doubt. When you approach the universal intelligence with a frantic, please let me get this money, or please let him call me, you are inadvertently affirming that you do not have it. You are affirming that it is difficult to get. You are affirming that you are not worthy of it by divine right. The subconscious mind hears the please, and it translates it into I am lacking. And because the subconscious creates what you feel, it creates more lack. The please vibration creates a distance between you and your desire. It places the desire on a pedestal and puts you in the dirt. As long as you are looking up at your desire like it is a distant star, you cannot hold it in your hand. You must bring the desire down from the pedestal and make it normal. You must make it natural. Now consider the vibration of course. This is the energy of naturalness. Think about gravity. You do not wake up in the morning and pray, please gravity keep me on the ground today. You do not visualize gravity working. You do not affirm I am stuck to the earth. You simply get out of bed and walk. If someone asked you, are you sure you won't float away? You would laugh and say, of course I won't float away. Why? Because you understand the law of gravity. You trust it implicitly. You have a relationship with it that is free of anxiety. It is a given. This is the exact relationship you must develop with the law of opulence and the law of love. When you truly understand that abundance is a spiritual law, just like gravity is a physical law, you stop begging for it. You start walking in it. You move from please let me be rich to of course I am supplied. The of course vibration collapses the distance. It says that this outcome is the only logical conclusion of my alignment. We need to talk about the surprise factor. Many people tell me they will be so surprised and happy when their manifestation comes. They think this sounds humble, but surprise is actually an indicator of doubt. If you are shocked that it worked, it means you didn't really believe it would work. Imagine you turn on a light switch. Are you surprised when the light comes on? Do you fall to your knees and weep in gratitude that the electricity decided to show up today? No. You flip the switch and you expect the light. If the light didn't come on, that would be the surprise. This is the standard of faith we are aiming for. We want the manifestation of money to be as boring and predictable as the light switch. We want the healing to be as natural as the sunrise. When you move into the of course energy, you stop looking for miracles and you start living in a miraculous baseline. The miracle becomes your normal. And when the check arrives, you don't faint. You smile and say, "Of course, it was on its way." This shift requires you to rewrite your internal dialogue. Most people walk around with an internal commentary of uncertainty. They say, "I hope this works out. Maybe this is the one. What if it happens?" You must aggressively edit these sentences. Replace "I hope" with "I know." Replace "maybe" with "certainly." Replace "what if" with "even if." But the most powerful replacement is simply adding "of course" to your observations of success. When you see a parking spot open up, say, "Of course." When you get a small discount, say, "Of course." When someone smiles at you, say, "Of course." You are training your brain to expect favor. You are building a neural pathway that assumes things go your way. Right now, you have a superhighway in your brain dedicated to things going wrong. You immediately assume the worst. You hear a noise and think, "Of course, the car is broken." You see a bill and think, "Of course I'm broke." You are already using the of course power, but you are using it destructively. You are using it to confirm your victimhood. We are going to hijack that mechanism and use it to confirm your victory. Let us look at the concept of deserving. The please vibration is rooted in the fear that you do not deserve the good. You feel you have to earn it through suffering or hard work. The of course vibration is rooted in the knowledge of your divine sonship. If you are a child of the King, you do not beg for food. You expect to be fed. This is not arrogance. Arrogance is thinking you are better than others. Spiritual confidence is knowing that God is no respecter of persons, and what is available to one is available to all. It is actually arrogant to think you are the one person in the universe that God cannot help. That is a reverse ego trip. When you say "of course," you are humbling yourself to the law. You are admitting that the law works for everyone, including you. You are stepping into your inheritance. An heir does not say, "Please may I have my inheritance?" An heir says, "I am ready to receive what is mine." How do you practice this practically? You start with the small things. It is hard to say, "Of course," to $1 million when you are broke, so start with a cup of coffee. Intend to have a great cup of coffee, and when you get it, say, "Of course." Intend to have a smooth commute, and when you hit the green light, say, "Of course." You are building a resume of success with the universe. You are proving to your subconscious that you are a person who gets what they intend. As you stack up these small of courses, you build a momentum of belief. Then, when you face the big mountain, the debt or the illness, you can look at it with the same casual confidence. You can say, "I handled the traffic. I handled the coffee. Of course I can handle this." Faith is a muscle. You do not start by bench pressing 500 pounds. You start with the bar. But you lift it with the attitude of a champion. There is a profound peace in the "of course." Please is high stress. Please is adrenaline. Of course is relaxation. It is the feeling of a heavy exhale. Think about a time when you were worried about something and then you found out it was resolved. Maybe you lost your wallet and you panicked, and then you found it in your other jacket. What was the feeling? It was a wash of relief, followed by, "Oh, of course it was there." That feeling of relief is the magnetic state. You want to cultivate that relief before you find the wallet. You want to walk around with the feeling of the problem already being solved. This is what Florence Scovel Shinn meant when she said act as if I have already answered. She meant vibrate at the frequency of the solution. The solution feels like, of course. It does not feel like please. The of course vibration also neutralizes the idol of the desire. When you beg for something, you make it an idol. You make it bigger than you. You make it bigger than God. You say, I cannot be happy without this idol. This creates a surplus potential that actually pushes the thing away. When you say, of course, you take the idol off the pedestal. You make it ordinary. And things that are ordinary are easy to get. We manifest what is normal to us. If poverty is normal to you, you manifest it effortlessly. If struggle is normal to you, you manifest it instantly. You need to make success normal. You need to make love normal. You need to make abundance normal. You do this by treating them not as rare miracles, but as standard operating procedure. Of course I am loved. Of course I am wealthy. Of course I am healthy. You normalize the blessing. This shift changes how you handle delays. When you are in please mode, a delay looks like a denial. You think, oh no, God said no. When you are in of course mode, a delay looks like a detail. You think, oh, the delivery truck is just stopping for gas. It is still coming. You do not question the destination, you only observe the journey. The queen does not panic if the tea takes 5 minutes instead of 2. She knows the kitchen is working. You must know the universe is working. When you have this certainty, you become unshakable. And an unshakable person is a powerful person. The world bends to the will of the person who is not moved by appearances. I want you to imagine a scenario. Imagine you go to a restaurant and order your favorite meal. The waiter writes it down and walks away. Do you sit there wringing your hands saying, please chef, cook my food? Do you grab the waiter's arm every time he passes and beg, please don't forget me? No. You talk to your friend, you check your phone, you enjoy the atmosphere. Why? Because of course, the food is coming. You have a contract with the restaurant. You ordered. They cook. That is the deal. You have a contract with the universe. You ask. It answers. That is the deal. Why are you treating the universe with less trust than you treat a waiter at a diner? The universe is more reliable than any chef. It has never messed up an order. It has never run out of ingredients. The only thing that messes up the order is you running into the kitchen and knocking over the pots. Sit down, drink your water, the meal is being prepared. Of course it is. This vibration is the antidote to the hard work mentality we spoke of earlier. Hard work is trying to force the food to cook faster by staring at it. Of course is knowing the heat is on and the timer is set. It allows you to rest. And remember, rest is not inactivity. Rest is trust in action. When you rest, you allow the molecular structure of your reality to rearrange itself. You allow the bridges to be built. You allow the connections to be made. You cannot build a bridge while you are drowning in the river of doubt. You have to get out of the water and stand on the solid ground of course. From that vantage point, you can see the path clearly. We must also address the language of your prayers. Many of you pray like beggars. O Lord, if it be thy will, please consider helping me. This sounds pious, but it is powerless. It assumes God is reluctant. Try praying like a partner. Thank you, Divine Spirit, that this is already done. Thank you that the way is open. I know you are guiding me. Gratitude is the language of course. You only thank someone when you are sure they will do it or when they have already done it. Gratitude bridges the gap between the unseen and the seen. When you give thanks before the cash is in the bank, you are putting the of course stamp on the envelope. You are sealing the deal. Please asks. Thank you accepts. Shift your prayers from asking to accepting. So your assignment is to catch yourself every time you slip into the please energy. Catch the whine in your voice, catch the slump in your shoulders, and instantly correct it. Straighten your spine, deepen your breath, say, cancel clear. Of course this is working out. Even if you don't believe it yet, say it. The words will lead the feeling. Fake the of course until you make the of course. Eventually your nervous system will learn the new pattern. You will stop getting a dopamine hit from the drama of the struggle and start getting a serotonin hit from the peace of the certainty. You will become addicted to the ease. And once you taste the ease of course, you will never go back to the struggle of please. You are moving from the vibration of a servant to the vibration of a master. A servant asks for permission. A master assumes permission. You have permission to be happy. You have permission to be rich. You have permission to be whole. The permit was issued the day you were born. You do not need to stand in line at the permit office begging the clerk. You have the document in your pocket. Pull it out. Read it, of course. That is your stamp of approval. Walk in that energy. Breathe in that energy, sleep in that energy, and watch how the world stops resisting you and starts cooperating with you. The war is over. The peace has begun. Of course it has. We have traveled a great distance together in this session. We have diagnosed the spiritual sickness of emotional pressure. We have dissected the physics of why force cancels your commands. We have reclaimed the throne of the queen from the desperate hands of the beggar. We have quieted the screaming child in the back seat, and we have learned the paradox that softening is actually strength. We have even engaged in a 24-hour rebellion against our own addiction to worry. But all of these tools and all of these shifts lead us to one final, inevitable destination. This is the place where the rubber meets the road. This is the place where true mastery is proven. It is the fortress of the soul that we call divine timing. You can master every other law, but if you do not make peace with the clock, you will always be a slave to anxiety. The final seal on your manifestation is the absolute unwavering declaration that says, I trust the timing. We must have a very honest conversation about why we hate waiting. We hate waiting because we have been conditioned to believe that delay is a form of denial. We think that if it hasn't happened yet, it means it is not going to happen, or worse, that we are doing something wrong. But let me reframe this for you with a spiritual truth that can save your sanity. The delay is not a denial. The delay is a time of assembly. Imagine you are building a massive skyscraper. You cannot just slap it together in a weekend like a garden shed. You have to dig deep. You have to lay steel. You have to coordinate plumbing and electricity and thousands of moving parts. If you saw the construction site in the early stages, it would look like a hole in the ground. It would look like nothing is happening. But if you tried to put the penthouse on top of the hole before the steel was laid, the whole thing would collapse. You are asking for a penthouse life, but you are frustrated that the universe is taking the time to lay the steel. You must understand that the magnitude of your blessing determines the length of the preparation. The universe is an orchestra, and God is the great conductor. In a symphony, the violin does not play the whole time. The trumpet does not blast for 2 hours straight. There are rests. There are pauses. There are moments of silence. If the violin player got anxious during his rest and started playing before his cue, he would ruin the symphony. He has to trust the conductor. He has to trust that his cue is coming, and that when it comes, it will be the perfect moment to contribute to the harmony. You are part of a vast, universal symphony. Your desire involves other people. It involves other circumstances. It involves economic shifts and geographic moves. You cannot see the whole score. You only see your own sheet music. You are screaming, why am I not playing yet, while the conductor is signaling the cellos? If you force your entry, you will be out of tune. But if you wait for the cue, your entry will be magnificent. Trusting the timing means trusting that the conductor knows the score better than you do. We must also confront the arrogance of our own schedule. We create these arbitrary timelines in our heads. We say, I must be married by 30, or I must be a millionaire by 40, or I must have this deal signed by Friday. Who told you that? Did the infinite intelligence give you that deadline, or did your ego create it out of fear? When you attach a deadline to a manifestation, you are setting yourself up for pressure. And, as we have learned, pressure cancels commands. When Friday comes and the deal isn't signed, you crash. You think you have failed, but what if the deal needed to fall through on Friday so that a better deal could come in on Monday? What if the person you wanted to marry was actually wrong for you and the delay was saving you from a divorce 10 years down the road? You have to be humble enough to admit that your calendar is limited. Your vision is limited. The universe sees around corners. The universe sees into the hearts of men. When the universe says, "Not yet," it is the most loving thing it can say. It is saving you from an unripe fruit that would make you sick. Let us go deeper into the concept of ripeness. In nature, you cannot force a fruit to ripen by screaming at it. You cannot pry open a rosebud with your fingers to make it bloom faster. If you do, you destroy the flower. There is an internal clock in every seed that knows exactly when to break the shell. Your desire is a seed. It has its own gestation period. You cannot speed it up with worry. You can only slow it down with doubt. Trusting the timing means respecting the biology of your creation. It means understanding that there is a season for sowing and a season for reaping, and you cannot do both in the same day. You have sown the seed. Now you must let the season turn. The winter may feel long, but spring has never once failed to arrive in the history of the earth. Your spring is inevitable. Do not curse the winter just because it is cold. Use the winter to rest. Use the winter to prepare your tools. Because when the harvest comes, you will be too busy to rest. There is a profound peace that comes when you stop trying to play God with time. You realize that you are not the general manager of the universe. You are the customer. The customer places the order and then sits down. The general manager coordinates the kitchen, the supply chain, and the delivery. You have been trying to do the manager's job, and you are exhausted because you are not qualified for it. You do not have the omnipotence required to coordinate 7 billion people, but there is a power that does. When you say, "I trust the timing," you are handing in your resignation as the general manager. You are taking your coat off and sitting back down at your table. You are saying, "I have done my part. I have chosen. I have commanded. Now I let the machinery of the divine do the heavy lifting." This is not giving up. This is moving up. You are moving up from the vibration of the micromanager to the vibration of the queen who trusts her servants. I want you to use the rearview mirror technique to build your faith in timing. Look back at your life. Look at the times when you didn't get what you wanted when you wanted it. Maybe you didn't get into that college. Maybe that relationship ended. Maybe you lost that job. At the time, it felt like a disaster. It felt like the universe had abandoned you, but look at it now 5 or 10 years later. Can you see the pattern? Can you see how losing that job forced you to start your own business? Can you see how that breakup cleared the way for your soulmate? Can you see how not getting into that school led you to meet your best friend? In the rearview mirror, the timing looks perfect. The mistakes look like miracles. The delays look like detours around danger. If the timing was perfect, then why do you think it is flawed now? The same intelligence that orchestrated your past is orchestrating your future. You just can't see the pattern yet because you are in the middle of the weaving. Trust the weaver. The back of the tapestry looks like a mess of tangled threads, but the front is a masterpiece. We must also talk about the difference between giving up and giving over. People are terrified to trust the timing because they think it means they have to give up on their dream. They think, if I accept the wait, I will never get the result. This is the illusion of urgency speaking. Giving up is despair. It is saying, it will never happen. Giving over is trust. It is saying, it will happen in the perfect way. When you give over the timing, you are not releasing the desire, you are releasing the anxiety about the desire. You are saying, Lord, I want this, I choose this, I am ready for this, but I am willing to wait for your perfect execution. This release of urgency actually speeds up the process. It removes the friction of your resistance. It unkinks the hose. Paradoxically, the moment you stop caring about when it happens is usually when it happens. Because you have finally become a vibration of pure allowance. I want you to imagine yourself 6 months from now. Visualize the version of you who has already received the manifestation. Look at their face. Do they look stressed? Do they look worried? No. They are smiling. They are relaxed. They are enjoying the fruit. Now imagine that future self looking back at you right now. What would they say to you? Would they say, push harder, worry more, stay up all night? No. They would look at you with compassion and say, relax. It worked out. You made it. The worry was a waste of energy. The timing was perfect. You need to borrow the certainty of your future self. You need to view your current struggle through their eyes. To them, this waiting period is just a blink. It is just the funny story you tell before the happy ending. Live in that energy. Live in the energy of the ending, not the energy of the middle. Trusting the timing is also an act of self-love. When you rush, you abuse yourself. You abuse your body with stress. You abuse your mind with circular thoughts. You rob yourself of the joy of today because you are obsessed with tomorrow. If you really loved yourself, you would allow yourself to enjoy the journey. You would say, my life is valuable right now even without the manifestation. I am enough right now even without the success. When you find satisfaction in the present moment, you become a magnet for the future. The universe loves to give gifts to people who are already happy. It is not attracted to misery. It is not attracted to the energy of I will be happy when. It is attracted to the energy of I am happy now. Trusting the timing allows you to be happy now. It takes the gun away from your head. It allows you to breathe. So here is the final shift. It is a shift in your daily vocabulary. Stop saying it is taking too long. Stop saying I am running out of time. Replace those curses with the blessing of trust. Say the timing is perfect. Say I am exactly where I need to be. Say God is never late. Even if you don't feel it yet, say it. Train your brain to look for the evidence of right timing. Look for the synchronicities. Look for the small signs that the gears are turning. When you affirm trust, you create a container of safety. In that container, the miracle can grow. The miracle cannot grow in a container of panic. You are building a womb of trust for your new life to be born. As we close this transmission, I want you to feel the weight falling off your shoulders. You do not have to hold the world up. You do not have to make the sun rise. You do not have to force the doors open. You have done your work. You have placed your order. You have signed the check. Now, you must let the bank of the universe process it. You must let the cook prepare the meal. You must let the driver navigate the road. The struggle is over because you have decided to end it. You have decided that your peace is more important than your control. And in that decision, you have found your true power. I want you to make a covenant with yourself today. A covenant of peace. Promise yourself that when the urge to rush comes up, you will meet it with the shield of trust. Promise yourself that when the fear of delay whispers in your ear, you will answer with the shout of faith. You will say, I am not waiting, I am being prepared. I am not ignored, I am being protected. I am not lost, I am being guided. This is the mindset of the master. This is the posture of the queen. This is the vibration of the of course. Go forth from this moment, not as a person who is trying to get something, but as a person who knows something. You know that the law is unfailing. You know that your good is guaranteed. You know that the timing is orchestrated by a love that is deeper than your understanding. Walk with your head high. Walk with a light step. The heavy lifting is done. The command has been heard. The answer is on the way. It will arrive not a minute too soon and not a minute too late. It will arrive right on time. Trust it, receive it, and be at peace. It is done. If this message helped you drop the heavy burden you have been carrying, do not let the feeling fade. Stay in this energy. I have a question for you. Are you ready to join the 24-hour rebellion we talked about? If you are, write in the comments below. I am ready to release. Your comment is your signature on the peace treaty with yourself. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please join us now. We have so much more to discover together. Thank you for watching. Trust the timing. Trust yourself. And I will see you in the next video.